Welcome back everybody to our C++ text RPG series. Today we're going to finish off the equipment menu state. There were a couple of functions that I asked you guys to try if you could, and if not, we're going to go over those today. We're just going to go over those today, and then we're going to start the status menu. So first things first, in the select, I made a few changes in the background. So in the selector.h, this here in your move right should actually be min. So we have it as std max, which was not correct. So I found this bug, so make sure you change that and put that to min. And then we removed this in the equipment menu state. I removed the focus on menu. You could add it back in or change it if you like, but I removed it. And then here I did the implementation. I added a few different changes here, and I did the implementation of the render equip slots and also the render equipment. So we're going to go over on that right now in the equipment menu state. So the first one we'll go over is just render equip. So what I did here was, first thing when we come in, we get the item. And we're checking to see, is the item equipped? If the item is equipped, we don't want to see it. So we'll just return. And then we get the type of the item. And when we're getting the type of the item, we want to check to see if it is one of the ones that we have selected right now. If the item is not a weapon, we're just going to leave. So say we have weapon equipped and the item that we're looking at is not a weapon, then we're going to want to leave as well. And there should also always be a type. You can put an assert here if you like, just to make sure, especially during debug. So if we do have it, if we get to here, first thing we do is get the name, and we write the name at the X and Y values. And the X and Y values are based on your selector and where the selector positions them. Then we're going to want to get the index. Why do we want to get the index? Because I want to get the description at that index, not necessarily the description of the item, because we're going to be rendering all the items. But I only want to see the description of the item I'm currently hovering on. That's why we get the one at the index. So basically we're checking, get the item at that index, and we're also checking to see if our index is less than our size, then we're going to write the description. If not, we're going to write nothing. In the render equip slots, what we're doing here is we're checking to see if the item is empty. So if the item's empty, that means we're not actually looking at an item right now. We're just going to return from that. And the item in this is this current slot. So we're going to want to write the slot plus these colons right here, and then we're going to want to check to see if it's a weapon. And if it's a weapon, we're going to want to get the weapon that is equipped at that slot. We want to grab the weapon, just a const auto reference to that weapon at that slot, at the weapon slot. If there is a weapon, then we're going to want to get the weapon's name. And we'll just call that, this is what we created here, the equipped item name, and we just get the name. Same with all of these. And if the equipped item name is empty, we're just going to want to call it empty. That's it. So that's pretty straightforward. Let's run through here. So let's open up our menu. Let's go to equipment. So right now we're in test player. They have no equipment right now, but it shows they have an attack. So these are the attributes that you start with when your player is empty. And we can go to equip. And then there's only short sword right now. There's a flicker right here. There's a bug. I got to find whatever that bug is, but it's fine for now. This is worth 15, plus you're going to get a strength increase of 3. So your attack, there's a formula that we use for the generating the attack. There, you see now our weapon is the short sword. Our attack and everything changed accordingly. Strength went up. And then we can include, I know there's armor, we can add the chest plate. And then we can also remove, and you see your stats changed right away. Let's go to a different player and we'll add the chest plate to that player. And you see how the description, let's go back and remove. So you see, and then right here, when we move over, we should actually be clearing this buffer here. So let's do that right now. And a way that we can do that is we want to keep a reference. Well, let's just add this to the end. And we'll just call it the prev index. We just want to keep a little reference of this. So let's go to our constructor real quick. And we'll just start it off as -1. And let's create a little function. This can just be a private function here. And we'll just say update index. And we can create this. And all we're going to want to do is get the index is equal to m equipment selector get index. Then we're going to want to clear the description area. So if m prev index is not equal to index. We're just going to go m prev index equal to index, and then we're just going to want to clear the buffer. What that'll do is it'll clear everything on the screen, and everything that's not supposed to be drawn right now will be erased, and everything that is supposed to be drawn will be drawn. Okay, so let's take this and put this into our update function. So there's one thing that we can do in our update function. Nothing to do here. Now there is. Cool. Now let's run this real quick, see if that does the job. See, everything is erased accordingly. And that's what we wanted. So now we're going to want to do the status menu. But before we start the status menu, let's take a look at this little diagram here. So as you can see, there's many ways that we can do a status menu in our game. Some of the things we're going to want to display in status menus is the member's name, HP, max MP, current level, XP to next level, XP, the equipment and their slot, and so on. The slot could be empty. If that is, we display empty. And then we're also going to want to display the attributes and their value. Currently, we do not have an MP or max MP, so let's add that now. Where I'm going to want to add this is in the actor class. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do magic in this game. Should we use an abstract base class or just use one class and then just give different names and different attributes in that class? We'll cross that road, hopefully in the next video. Okay, so let's add the MP to the actor. So let's open up the actor. And that can just be here as well. Start a new line. And we're also going to want to make some getters and setters. Those will be pretty straightforward. Basically just like a get HP. So just const int get MP. So get MP will be that. We're also going to want to have something where we're using the MP. And use MP will be similar to take damage. So let's just go void, or we'll make this bool. Use MP int MP. We don't necessarily have to fill this out right now because we're not going to be using it. But let's just do it real quick. So if MP is greater than NMP, we're just going to want to return false. And then if MMP, or not if, just MMP minus equals MP. And then just do a quick check. We probably don't even have to do this check. And if it makes it to here, return true. Okay, so there's our MP. So now let's start the status. So go here, add your new state. So the status menu state is going to be very similar. If you think about it, all the states are going to be pretty close to the same when it comes to the menu states. So let's go into the equipment menu state and steal some things. So we're just going to go Control A. We're going to steal this entire bit. Control V. Get rid of the extra pragma once because we got a lot. Looks like we did this before over here. So let's go into here. Yeah, so we don't need that. Where was that? Our status menu state. Cool. So let's change this to, if you hit Control H, then you can go make sure it's set to the current document and change it to status menu state. Then hit Alt A. It'll change all of them. Cool. That's all changed. What are we going to need here? Panel bars can stay the same. Equip size is going to change to status size. And this will be 31. That's because that's based on, remember, this is based on the size of this here, your text. So see, this is 52 here, or 51. Should be 52 probably. But it's based on the size of this text, so we can try to center it. So I do know that the status size is close to 31. And we don't need the predict. And the X pause, we're going to want to kind of put it closer to the center, so let's put it to 70. X label pause will be 50. X label Y pause, let's make this 30. And we're not going to need any selectors, because the status is basically just a visual. So we're going to want to just visualize things. We're not going to need stat modifier, prediction. We will need the player info. We don't need any of these. So these can all be removed. Draw equipment will now be changed to draw status. We'll just cut status panels. Draw player info can stay. That can all stay. These are all needed. Cool, I think that's all we need to start this state. Oh, wait, we're not gonna need all this extra stuff as well. So we're not gonna need any of these. We're not gonna need these, so those can all go, okay? But we do need screen width, screen height, panel bar X, diff pause. Do we need the diff pause? We'll see it when we get there. We won't need the previous index for sure. We won't need the stat mod. All right, now let's start building these. All right, so first thing we're gonna need some includes. We're gonna need to include our console. We're gonna need to include our player. We're going to need to include our keyboard. And we're going to need our state machine. All right. And we could probably have an assert. First thing we're going to do is go to our constructor and do some initializing here. And we're going to need to do our screen width. We could probably just copy these. Matter of fact, that's what we'll do. Let's just go over to equipment. We know that we have it done here. Somewhere. Right here. So we'll just copy all of these. Go over and we'll erase them accordingly. Cool, we don't need any of those. All right, what else do we need to do? So everything should be initialized now. The first thing we can do is change the status. Basically, all of this stuff is the same. So we're just going to go back over here and just copy our equipment. Copy all of this. Equip size is now status size. I do remember status is not going to need this. We're not going to need this. We're not going to need this. We can just get rid of this for now. Let's just go down to our draw function. Add that in there. Make sure that our console is drawing. And for quickness, let's just go into our game menu state and let's add that in. So we have our status menu, our stats. We called it stats here. That's fine. So right here, we can just copy this. All right, we change that to status menu state. I think the signature should be basically the same. So let's just run this and see what we get. It should say equipment right now because we haven't changed that. Yeah, everything should be off a little bit as well because we changed the size. So that's built. Cool. So we're not clearing buffer or anything. We're drawing equipment. So let's clear our buffers on the way in. And on the way out. Let's try to run it again. Cool. So yeah, you see this is off a little bit because the size is different. So let's actually change this right now to status. We have to go to that great site, Pajoric. I can't say the name correctly, but and just I have it set to standard font. You can choose whatever font you want, and I have status. So what we do is we just select and copy. I like to put this on any type of notepad or any text editor, just so I can copy them over. And then we can close this, go back to our thing, and we can just copy them over. Don't forget, if you have any forward slashes, you have to put in the extra slash. For Windows anyway. I'm not sure if that is for other OS systems. Alright, let's run that real fast. Perfect. Well, that has to go over a little bit, so we'll move that. And it should be good. Perfect. Nice and centered because we got this value here. It's 32, so it's off by 1, but that's all right. Wait, what did we set it to? 31? Yeah, so we could probably set that to 32. Always check to see what it looks like. If you don't like where it is, move it around. Play with it. Try different things. Well, not equipment. Cool. I like that. Okay, so what's the next thing we're going to want to do? We're going to want to get the player info. Let's get rid of this. So the draw player info is our next function. And this one's pretty straightforward. What you're going to want to do is just grab all the information from the player. So the player's name, level, HP, max MP, all those different things. Make them into a proper string and then add them in. So that's what we'll do. So we can write the name right now. So we want to kind of center the player's name. So we're going to take the center of the screen and then minus the player's name divided by 2. That should give us the center. And let's put this at 10 because that'll be in between these two bars here. So 9, 10, 11. So this will put our name in between the bars. And then we're just going to want the player name. Alright, so let's get the other info. Const, auto, level. And we can just set this to string right now. And we're using W strings, remember. max HP, then let's get MP. Let's auto MP. Not max MP, but we'll leave that and just do this. Why is this not happy right now? Oh, silly me. These are functions. Make sure you add that max MP in there. I forgot to do that. And let's get the XP. I could probably just copy these. Now we need XP to next level. We'll just call it XP to next. Okay. Now we can do our level string. We'll just call it the level string, and that's equal to level. Because we already changed these all to strings here, they should all be W strings. You see, they're all W strings, so we're just adding that in. Okay, so let's create our HP string. So basically, same idea. We'll just call it the HP string. MP string. XP string. And we can start writing these. And we're just going to use a stat label. I know the name's the same. We could change it to something else if we want, but. And we'll start this at 14. We may have to change the heights. And we'll just do our level string. HP string. That can be at 15. 16. This will be MP string. XP string at 17. Let's just run this to see what it looks like. And if I have any mistakes. Alright, so that's what it looks like right now. So clearly I didn't set my MP. If you see here, this is why you should initialize all your variables. So right now it's just sending us in some garbage value. So let's do that right now. Oh yeah, I forgot I made this change just for testing. And you know what? Let's change that back. Let's go MP. I'll just start this off at 0. Or we'll just start them both off at 5. That's what we'll do. Because we don't have it in the constructor to add max MP and whatever. So we'll just start them off at 5. And not all characters will need to use MP. because you'll have your warrior. Maybe that person can't use magic, but we'll cross that bridge when we have to. It'll just be a quick change if needed. That's why it's always better to plan out what you're trying to do. It makes it easier than trying to cram stuff in. So you want things to be able to, you to be able to change things easily without breaking the rest of your code. Okay, so back. Let's get the equipment. Draw the equipment and slots. So M. Let's put this at 19, give it a space, and this will just be our equipment. And we'll color this yellow. And let's just make a little line. Not sure how big it should be. Put this at 20. And we're going to want to get the equipment. So let's start with int I is equal to 0. And then go const auto reference equipment. And that will be to the player dot get equipped items slots. So that what that'll do is that gives us a map, an unordered map of equipped slots to shared pointer of equipment. What we can do now for const auto reference, and we're going to do a structured binding of the slot and the equipped item based on our equipment. So the first thing I'm going to want to do, actually, before I get into this, is come up here, and right here, I'm not sure if this is a great place to put it, but we're going to want to make a little lambda function. And this lambda function is just going to take in a slot, like one of your equipped slots, and then it's going to give us back a string for that slot. I'm not sure if I already created a utility to do this. If I did, I'll go back and change it later. But right now, let's just make that little lambda. And we'll just call it slot to string. And that's equal to, we're going to want to capture a reference, stats, and then equip slots, and we'll just call it the slot. And inside this little lambda, we're going to have a switch statement based on the slot that's passed in. Case, stats, equip slots, and we'll start with weapon. And just return weapon. We'll just call it chest. Footwear will be footwear. And then we'll have accessory. And we'll have one more if it's no slot. Probably could have just we'll write no slot, but before that, I'm actually just going to put a little assert in. always have a slot. That's just for us. You should be doing most of your stuff in debug mode anyway. Asserts are ignored in release, but all of this should be done in debug. We do our tests in debug. We're not doing anything that's too heavy where you'll even really need release for optimization. And then our default, if it's none of these things, is just to return blank. We could also put an assert there as well. Like, why are we not assigning this? That's my question. Okay, so now we can take our little lambda that we created and we can use that in our little for loop here. I brought it outside so we only make it the one time, and then you could put it inside the function if you want. So m console.write, and we're going to need our stat again. And now this one will be we could probably just do, where is that, 20. So let's go 21 plus I. And then here we go slot to string, and we just send in our slot. And then we have to do another one, and we want this at the same position, but we need to move this over. This will be the slot stat value pause at 21 plus I. And this one is different. This is just equipment. If we're equipped, so this could end up being, because this is a shared pointer, this could be null pointer. So we're going to want to check to see if it's equipped. If it's equipped, let's get the name. So else, we're going to just want to display empty. This is a ternary operator. If you haven't seen this before, this is basically just a simple if statement, or if else. So if this, do this. And then we're just going to want to do I++. All right, now come down here. We're going to want to set our I is equal to 1. And then we're going to want to go get the stats. So const auto reference stat list is equal to mplayer dot get stats dot get stat list, and then from here, so that gives us an unordered map of w string to integer value. So what we can do with this is now go into our for loop, for const auto reference, another structured binding. We're going to want to go stat and value of the stat list. And then here, let's copy all of this. There's going to be some changes. Now this one is stat label start pause. Stat label start y pause plus I. And then this will be the stat. And then this one, basically the same. Our exposition would be stat val x pause. And then we're going to want to change std to w string, the value plus we're also going to have to get the mod value. Const auto mod value get stats, get modifier list at that specific, not modifier list, get modifier at that stat. And then this one plus mod value. So we're getting the stat. We're using the key to get the modifier value, and then we're adding that to it if it's there. If not, it'll just be 0. And that's it. All right, let's give this a little run, see what it looks like. Might be some mistakes that we have to fix, but let's take a look. Awesome. So in here, we could probably add some more stuff. Like, see how this says equipment? And we should probably just add attributes in there. But that's basically it. So we're looking at test player status. We're showing all the weapons, all that stuff. Let's go back. We're going to have to put that in there as well. So we can't go back. There's a problem. So we can just do that really fast. And we can do that on process inputs. So we just go if m keyboard is key just pressed, key backspace, and then we'll just do m state machine dot pop state. That should work. Let's try again. Cool. Yep, that brings us back. So let's change their equipment. Let's add in. So that person has a short sword. And we go back to stats. It should say short sword. See, boom, perfect. All lined up nicely. Let's add the attributes there. So right here, basically we can copy these lines. And right before our stats, actually it doesn't matter where we put this, we can draw it wherever we want as long as we know where it is. So we do have our start label pause. Let's go start label pause -2. Let's try that. But we'll do it down here just because. And we'll just call this attributes. I think I spelled that correctly. And let's just copy this. And see how that looks. So let's just add this in. Awesome. I like it. We could probably go down one more, but that's good for now. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to get into starting the magic menu. And I also want to start looking at something I call the typewriter. Basically what it is this. Here's a little example. So what will happen here is you add in some text that you want and it will scroll across the screen. We're going to be using this for dialogue and other things that come along in the game. So make sure you check out the next video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.